Part 20. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 191. In fact, some people still saw that Zhang Zizai's performance was fake. However, most of the guards didn't know that after today, the news that Princess Shenxiao defeated Zhang Zizai again would spread again. Now, she would continue to be high and mighty and despise herself. Sufei didn't practice martial arts, and she only had the Xuanhuan realm. She couldn't see the mystery, and just thought her daughter had won. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Princess Shengxiao's face was calm, and she returned to her side. In the future, he will no longer be your opponent. It's time to look forward, Xiao Zhao Sufei said softly. I know, mother, but she couldn't be happy. She already suspected that Zhang Zizai's performance later was not his true strength. However, the guy still acted as if nothing had happened, and he got on the horse casually, looking full of energy, with a relieved smile on his face, not like a loser at all. If I knew that you deliberately lost to me, I would never let you go, Zhang Zizai, you must not respect me. At the beginning of the first confrontation, she almost collapsed in her heart. How could Zhang Zizai be so strong? She didn't believe that she would be defeated so quickly next. In any case, with a heavy heart, the hunt began, and she could only watch Zhang Zizai and Princess Lingxian leave side by side and disappear in the wilderness. Xiao Zhao, do a good job in the hunt. Go back to the previous rhythm. Concubine Su was relieved. She gave a warning, and then followed the Flame Dragon Emperor. They also wanted to hunt. In any case, people in the world will know that Princess Shenxiao is the best in the world again. She put aside those chaotic thoughts, focused on the sword, rode the golden dragon horse, and galloped away. Zhang Zizai asked all the questions he should ask during the Longshan hunting this time, and then he focused on the hunting. He and Princess Lingxian rode on the golden dragon horse and galloped in the jungle. Behind them, there was a group of more than 40 guards following behind, protecting the two of them. Of course, they would not get too close, as that would alarm the prey. Wait for me. Princess Lingxian was really depressed chasing him, just like a wild horse running away. Why are you following me? Zhang Zizai asked back. Your Majesty asked us to be together, she said, a little aggrieved. That's right. Zhang Zizai had no choice but to bring her with him, which slightly affected the rhythm. However, when he encountered a source beast, he still killed it. There were first and second grade source beasts everywhere here, and the more challenging ones were third grade source beasts. In the Black Collar Mountains, Zhang Zizai would have died if he encountered a third grade source beast, but now he can easily kill it. The real opponent is the fourth grade source beast. For the fifth grade source beast and above, it takes the Saint Body realm to deal with it. The fourth grade source beast is already quite difficult. However, these source beasts are less fierce than the source beasts in the deep mountains and forests. Zhang Zizai was so excited about killing that the guards soon became miserable. They had too many source beast corpses to transport. Fortunately, Princess Lingxian just followed and did not take action at all. Didn't Zhang Zizai just lose the battle? Why does he seem to be in a good mood and so energetic? Who knows? Damn, he's like crazy. Does he want to take the first place in Longshan hunting? With the prince here, it's never his turn. Anyway, he wants to perform well in front of His Majesty. Haha, does he really think that His Majesty will have no grudges against him about King Zilan? Don't make blind guesses, so as not to let His Majesty know. Half a day passed in a blink of an eye, and Zhang Zizai still hasn't encountered a fourth grade source beast. He had come here to practice his dragon robbery sword skills. He hadn't used it on Princess Shenxiao just now. When he walked into a canyon, he heard a galloping sound in front of him. He hurriedly chased after it. Suddenly, a black wild horse rushed out of the bushes in front of him. A closer look showed that the source beast was twice as tall as the golden dragon horse, and its body was very agile. The most terrifying thing was that it was burning with black flames. Wherever it went, the grass and trees turned into ashes. Its pair of green eyes were like ghost fire, cold and bloodthirsty. 4th grade Source Beast, Ghost Fire Shadow. Someone from the guards behind exclaimed. Little prince, princess, hurry up, you can't deal with this ghost fire shadow. Before he finished speaking, Zhang Zizai had already rushed up. The guards wanted to protect him, but Princess Lingxian stopped them and said, he can deal with it, don't worry. The guards could only surround it and watch the situation at any time. In fact, they were very afraid of this ghost fire shadow. Zhang Zizai liked it very much. This ghost fire shadow was a bit like the black scale horse raised in their great Zhongqing city, but the black scale horse was not a source beast, and this ghost fire shadow was obviously much stronger. Be careful of his totem magic power, ghost without trace. Zhang Zizai had already seen that there were blood-red lines on its body, which were the totem lines of the source beast. This totem line brought the source beast totem magic power, and the totem magic power was an important means of the source beast. The power of many talismans actually came from the totem magic power contained in the totem lines of the source beast. Whoosh! The ghost fire shadow used the totem magic power, and his whole body turned into a ball of black fire, as fast as a shadow, rushing towards Zhang Zizai from all directions. This speed was even faster than the lightning storm. However, Zhang Zizai's lightning storm was more flexible, and he dodged directly, causing the collision of the ghost fire shadow to fall into the air. People watching this fight were on tenterhooks. After all, the strength of the 4th grade origin beast Ghost Hokage is comparable to that of a totem martial artist at the 7th or 8th level of the mysterious vein realm. In their opinion, Zhang Zizai was absolutely daring. He didn't use the Long Yu sword to kill the ghost fire shadow. Instead, he sat on the horse and hugged the ghost fire shadow tightly with his lightning storm. Neck. This neck is so thick that Zhang Zizai can't even hold it. I'm afraid Ani Hokage, the origin beast, didn't expect that this person actually wanted to surrender to him. Its temperament was already violent, and its carnivorous origin beast was not a grass-eating one, so it seemed like it was crazy, charging everywhere. Swung violently, the black flames completely burned Zhang Zizai's body, trying to burn him alive. However, Zhang Zizai is not very afraid of this kind of flame. His true energy has condensed and he can block it for the time being. If I don't surrender to you, my surname will not be Zhang. He's also pretty crazy. One man and one horse fell into entanglement, turning the canyon upside down. This stunned the guards. Fortunately, Zhang Zizai seemed to be fine, so they resisted the urge to help. Once they help, the ghost fire shadow will not be regarded as Zhang Zizai's achievement. For a full quarter of an hour, the entire canyon was burned clean. The ghost fire shadow stopped and panted. It really didn't understand how there could be such a perverted person. Even though it was like this, it couldn't knock the guy off, so it surrendered and was willing to become Zhang Zizai's mount. With it, the time to return to Dajiangqing City can be shortened by almost twice. Very good. I'll name you Shadow. From now on, you will be mine. You will be able to hang out with me and have fun, drink hot food, and even have the wildest mare for you to enjoy. Zhang Zizi was in a good mood. The ghostly fire shadow seemed to understand what he meant, and was very resistant, as if asking, "Mare? Where is the mare?" Just now he was fierce and aggressive, but now he has become docile and made a domineering roar, which shocked the whole audience. He surrendered the Oni Hokage. I'll go, you're really perverted. No wonder the Six Houses Gala is so arrogant. This ghost fire shadow is the only one. The prince has surrendered it before, but failed. The prince was so angry that he almost killed it. Why did it surrender today? It's possible that their attributes match up well. It seems that Zhang Zizai's energy and skills are all black. Each of them is like a black god of war. Zhang Zizai got his first pet beast in his life. For him, today was such a profit that he forgot to continue hunting. He was too busy talking to the shadow and having a great time. Hey, did someone hurt you just now? He looked carefully and found that there were many sword marks on its body. No wonder it ran here in a hurry just now. It turned out to be running for its life. He feels very distressed. Who dares to kill his pet beast? Princess Lingxian was watching the whole process. She rode her horse and wanted to get closer, but the golden dragon horse didn't dare to come up at all. It was timid. Zhang Zizai looked up and asked, "Is that a mare?" Ah, Lingxian was confused. The shadow's breath was heavy, and he looked over at once. Among them, the horse that Zhang Zizai was riding turned around and ran away. It was a stallion, and he was scared. The remaining golden dragon horse of Lingxian was indeed a female horse. No, no one wants to see you show off your talents in public. Zhang Zizai controlled the excited Oni Hokage and smiled awkwardly. However, the golden dragon horse opposite surrendered and came over on his own initiative, remaining next to the Oni Hokage like a little bird. You are really powerful, you can actually subdue it. Princess Lingxian looked at the ghostly fire shadow curiously. Can I go up? She asked. It was rare for her to be so proactive. Zhang Zizai was in a good mood, so he asked Shadow, "Is she okay?" It turned out that it really seemed to understand and muttered a few times to show that it would not resist. It seems that this beast can also distinguish between beautiful women. Lingxian seemed to be particularly curious. She lightly tapped on the horse, then came to Zhang Zizai's side and landed on the horse here. This ghost fire shadow was very huge, and it was not crowded for two people to sit on it. Zhang Zizai let her sit in front, while he sat in the back, keeping a distance. He looked at Lingxuan's back and asked, "How is it? Is my shadow tall and mighty, a perfect match for me?" As soon as he finished speaking, the ghost fire shadow suddenly became excited and started running wildly. Zhang Zizai didn't notice and slipped directly into Lingxian. It was so bumpy that he reached out and grabbed Princess Lingxuan's arms, otherwise she would have fallen. "I'll go, why are you crazy? Be careful, I'll chop you down," Zhang Zizai said hurriedly. The shadow finally stopped. Zhang Zizai quickly let go of his hand and said, "I'm sorry, I was just worried that you would fall." She lowered her head and said softly, "It's okay, but it doesn't seem to like me very much, so I'll go down first." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Zizai felt murderous intent for some reason. He looked back and saw many imperial guards on the left. In front of those imperial guards, there was a girl riding a white horse. She looked at Zhang Zizai with cold eyes. Unexpectedly, she was still haunted. Princess Shenxiao. In the panic just now, she held Lingxian for a while, and she must have seen it. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 192. They were riding on a horse, and their relationship was obviously very close. "What are you looking at? Are you jealous of me for taming this fierce horse?" Zhang Zizai asked. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. You stole my prey. I just injured it, it's mine. Princess Shenxiao rode over. She was a little angry. On the one hand, the prey was taken away, on the other hand, she saw that he was holding her waist. Here he was in love with his concubine. They both said that this wedding was a formality, but why are they so sweet now? She thought she had been relieved after defeating Zhang Zizai, but she didn't expect that when she saw him holding Lingxian, she would be so angry. The whole person was like exploding. Stealing the prey was just a trigger. "Give me back my prey." She couldn't hold herself back and fell off the horse. With the body movement of the flame dragon Holy Shadow, she drew out the Holy Dragon Emperor sword and rushed towards Zhang Zizai again. "Give you back your pig head." Zhang Zizai was depressed. How could this woman go crazy and rob a horse? Seeing her crazy state, it was like she had killed her father. He really didn't expect that she would be so fierce and stab Zhang Zizai with a sword. She really showed no mercy. Get lost, Zhang Zizai thought to himself that she really thought she could defeat him after giving her face just now. He drew out the dragon ghost sword and went directly to the horse to meet the enemy. The two swords collided, and Zhang Zizai was stable on the horse. Shen Xiao was still shaking. At this moment, Zhang Zizai didn't expect that Princess Lingxian beside him suddenly made a move. She had a blood-colored dagger in her hand. It flew out of her hand and stabbed Princess Shen Xiao. In just a moment, the dagger flew past Princess Shen Xiao's neck and almost killed her. After a circle, the dagger returned to her hand. She lowered her head and put the dagger away. Long Yan, Princess Shen Xiao stopped suddenly and looked at her in disbelief. She never thought in her life that she would actually attack herself. You, actually attacked me. Her hand holding the Holy Dragon Emperor sword was shaking. I just think that you shouldn't go too far. The prey on the hunting ground, whoever defeats it will be the one. Why do you want to kill? Princess Lingxian said softly. What she said was indeed reasonable, but Zhang Zizai was a little confused. This was not her style. How could she stand on her side? Are you serious? Princess Shenxiao looked at them with a miserable face and endless anger burning in her eyes. You are so good. What did you promise me before? What are you doing now? Have you been seduced by him and been overwhelmed? She couldn't bear it. The way they hugged each other just now, and now the fact that they joined forces to deal with her, made the devil in her heart grow into a huge beast. Originally, she thought that she would give up after defeating Zhang Zizai, but she thought too much. Although the Lorengxiang was not successful in the end, how could she forget those contacts? Maybe she could bear Zhang Zizai to be with someone else in the end, but when this person was the selfless Princess Lingxian, her heart collapsed directly. Facing her questioning, Princess Lingxian lowered her head and whispered, Sister, he is Yano's future husband. How can you use the word seduction? Husband, Sheng Xiao's eyes were red, she had lost her mind, she gritted her teeth, stared at her, and said, You promised me that you would keep a distance from him after marriage, and we owed each other nothing. But now you tell me that he is your husband. Very good, I misjudged you. I thought you were very pitiful and wanted to take care of you, but I didn't expect you to be an ungrateful person. You have been pretending for so many years, but you turned out to be such a bitch. Lingxian said in a trembling voice, Sister, I don't understand what you are talking about. This is the arrangement of His Majesty. If Sister likes him so much, just go to His Majesty and ask His Majesty to change a princess. You blame me, what can I do to change this result? Zhang Zizai was really stunned. How could Lingxian say such a thing in public? With so many guards watching, and looking at Princess Shengxiao's current state, this would ruin Princess Shenxiao. Lingxian said that it was not too much, but the angry state of Princess Shenxiao at this time showed that she valued Zhang Zizai. This time, she was controlled by Princess Lingxian in a whirlpool. Longjian, you remember this, Zhang Zizai, you remember this. She seemed to be in pain, and tears could not help falling. It was obvious that she really hated him this time. The desperate look in her eyes when she left was really distressing. Zhang Zizai understood that she might love because of hatred, and maybe she herself didn't know that there was such a side of her that cared about him. She left, and the guards who looked at each other followed her. Zhang Zizai and Princess Lingxian were left, and the guards who followed them were left. She left Zhang Zizai with only her back, so Zhang Zizai didn't see that there was actually a mist in her eyes. I'll leave first. She seemed a little tired and lost, and returned to her golden dragon horse, and then left alone. The guards saw that they could only split half of them to chase her away. Zhang Zizai looked at her back as she left and fell into deep thought. She seemed to be unable to control herself and said things she didn't want to say. She is definitely not herself today. There is something wrong here. He knew that Princess Shenxiao must have suffered a loss today. These guards were watching. Unless they were killed, what happened today would always spread out. Fortunately, it was in a closed place like Longshan. The guards did not dare to talk nonsense. If it was spread out, people might not believe it was true, otherwise Princess Shenxiao would be in trouble. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. She is jealous of me, what should I do? Zhang Zizai was a little overwhelmed, he felt that this was a debt of love. Fortunately, Princess Lingxian really had no feelings for him, otherwise he really didn't know how to explain to Juxian if he added another one. Xiaozhao, continue to dream of being an emperor, why do you always care about me? Thinking of this, he dared not get entangled with you, Princess Shenxiao. Although this can destroy her, but if you think about it carefully, isn't it a bit cruel? The royal family of all generations has always had these bad things. For a position, brothers and sisters turned against each other. It's really boring. My great Xuanhuan Cheng is better. The relationship between their brothers and sisters is too good. If he really wants to be the future Zilan king, he is not willing. It's too restrictive. What he wants is to be free and unrestrained. Fortunately, there is an older brother above, otherwise he will have a headache. Why is the royal family so different? He couldn't figure it out. After this happened, he didn't have the heart to hunt. Seeing that the time was almost up, he returned to the exit. Yan Longhuang and others were also here. The younger generation was counting the prey lightly. Zhang Zizai, you are really outrageous. Why did you lose Lingxian and run so fast by yourself? Yan Longhuang saw him and asked with a stern face. Princess Lingxian was next to him. Zhang Zizai smiled and said, Your Majesty, I was wrong. At that time, I didn't care about the princess in order to subdue the ghost fire shadow. I must apologize to the princess. It's good to know how to apologize. Don't do this next time, Yan Longhuang said. Zhang Zizai looked around. He saw Sheng Xiao's golden dragon horse coming back, but he didn't see her figure. She was probably talking in Sufei's carriage. This time, the prince performed well and continued to take the first place. He was praised by the Flame Dragon Emperor, and then the team set off to go back. What happened? When leaving, Dong Yangjing and Zhang Zizai were side by side. What do you mean? I came back first and saw that Sufei looked very bad. She pulled Shen Xiao into the carriage, Dong Yangjing said. Zhang Zizai was speechless. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 193. Suxi Palace. Concubine Su's face was ashen as she looked at her daughter kneeling in front of her. What a shame, you are really crazy. He used such means to deal with you, and you didn't even tell me why you were so stupid. Concubine Su's eyes were red with anger. Tell me, have you had sex? Her eyes almost pierced with swords. No, she lowered her head and said in a weak voice, he has a kind of talisman that can calm the soul and just wake us up. But you still have an influence in your heart and never forget it? Is that why you are so crazy when you see him being intimate with Lingxian? Concubine Su asked. Shen Xiao lowered his head and did not dare to speak. What an idiot. I should have killed him earlier, Concubine Su said. No, Shen Xiao said subconsciously. Concubine Su knew that she would be like this. She tried her best to calm down, pondered for a while, and said, the most urgent thing is not to spread today's events. I have ordered people to kill all the guards present. Mom, how could you? She raised her head in shock and looked at this woman tremblingly. Why can she be so cruel? Do you think I'm cruel? Haha, when you completely lose hope, you will know what it means to be cruel. If it were you, a person with no background, who came to this harem, you would know how difficult it is to survive. If you are not cruel, there are many people who are more cruel than you. You can't kill him. Shen Xiao stood up. Concubine Su stared at her, speechless. Of course your father doesn't want me to kill him. But my child, if you are still stubborn, even if it makes your father unhappy, I will risk killing him and completely cut off the devil in your heart. I know. She lowered her head and clenched her fists. From now on, there will be no more of him in my world. Is that okay? I hope you will keep your word. I don't want what happened today to happen again. Shen Xiao nodded and exited here. They never expected that when concubine Su sent people to assassinate all the 40 or 50 imperial guards present, a huge uproar would break out in Yanlong ruins. An image talisman was copied many times and spread throughout the dynasty. The content in the image talisman is the quarrel between the two princesses. It is a record of real scenes during the Longshan hunting. In the picture, Princess Shenxiao undoubtedly showed her feelings for Zhang Zizai. The two of them were actually competing for the same man as people speculated in the gossip. 63 imperial guardsmen all died violently because of this image talisman. I don't know who said it, but this sentence also spread throughout the streets and alleys. In order to preserve the reputation of Princess Shenxiao, she actually regards the lives of the imperial guards as nothing. Who gave this order to be so cruel? Needless to say, everyone in the world knows who did it, the woman behind Princess Shenxiao. I didn't expect that Princess Shenxiao could be so vicious at such a young age. 63 lives. Concubine Su is used to being aloof. She may have forgotten that everyone has relatives they care about, and everyone will have hatred. Those insignificant people in her eyes bit her the hardest. When the image talisman that shocked the entire dynasty was spread, the most important thing was not that Princess Shenxiao actually liked her sister's husband, but that their mother and daughter were indifferent to human life. To the common people, the former can be forgiven, but the latter simply discredits the entire royal family. As the protagonist in the image talisman, Zhang Zizai was stunned after hearing the news. Did I kill them? For a moment, he blamed himself. If it weren't for himself, the 63 people would not have died. This time, concubine Su's arrogance and cruelty have destroyed both herself and Shen Xiao. He knew very well that arousing public anger was the most taboo thing for Emperor Yanlong. No matter how talented Shen Xiao is, if he has such a stain now, it will be difficult in the future. Losing the support of the people means losing everything. Even if his talent is outstanding, what's the use? If concubine Su didn't kill anyone, the imperial guards might not dare to say anything about it. In the end, Princess Shenxiao would become a joke before and after tea, and it wouldn't affect her future too much. However, 63 human lives were ignored like this. Even if she had a weapon of revenge in her hands, her reputation would be ruined. Moreover, the Imperial Guard is one of the most important armies of the royal family. Such behavior will undoubtedly chill the entire Imperial Guard, which is even more dangerous for the Yanlong Emperor. These are taboos for all emperors. Maybe concubine Su was used to killing people, but she never expected that someone would use an image talisman to record it on that occasion. Without this image talisman, the deaths of those imperial guards would not have caused much commotion. She has been shrewd all her life, but she neglected it once because of anger. But this negligence will definitely make her fall into the abyss. Another image talisman caused a sensation in the dynasty. That night, when the news spread, it was said that Emperor Yanlong was still in Suxi Palace. Everyone said that concubine Su was definitely doomed this time. Although there was no further news from the palace, everyone knew how angry the Yanlong Emperor would be. Princess Shenxiao saw everything. The woman he respected knelt in front of his father and kowtowed to admit her mistake, but was kicked away. She fell to the ground, vomiting blood, and continued to kowtow until her head was broken. From today onwards, concubine Su will not be allowed to leave Suxi Palace for even half a step in her lifetime, Emperor Yanlong said calmly. Sufei lay on the ground miserably. She didn't expect it. She was too nervous and worried that her daughter's reputation would be tarnished, so she took action to stop the trouble. But she didn't expect that those insignificant people could resist to such an extent. Smart for a lifetime, confused for a moment. When the Flame Dragon Emperor left, he looked coldly at Shen Xiao, who was standing in the corner. Princess Shen Xiao clenched her hands, watched her mother spit blood, and watched the man leave. People have to pay the price for their stupidity. Yan'er, I thought you were most like me, but in the end I found out that I thought too much. He shook his head and strode away from here. How could he not know who was planning these conspiracies? But this kind of struggle was not about who was more ruthless, but who won and who lost. The prince remained calm and let the mother and daughter lose completely. Princess Shen Xiao didn't say anything. She silently helped her mother up. This woman looked too pitiful, tears and blood mixed together, but was she really pitiful? Mother, I suddenly understand something, she said softly. Sufei's face was miserable and she was shaking constantly. She looked outside and said, a woman who depends on a man is useless in essence. Only by relying on herself can life have dignity. You have no dignity now. So, don't I want you to take a different path from me? Sufei grabbed her hand and said miserably, my child, mother will take the responsibility this time. I will admit my mistakes to the world, but this has nothing to do with you. You still have a future. You know how to go in the future, right? Do you want to commit suicide to apologize to the world and keep me safe? Shen Xiao asked. Only this way can you have a chance again. Sufei gritted her teeth and tears flowed. No need, live for yourself in the future. I'm just your daughter, I'm not everything to you. She stood up and pulled away the hand that was pulling her. She glanced at Qin Zhen, who had been standing silently beside her, and said, Aunt Zhen, don't let her do anything stupid. She has been stupid enough in her life. Qin Zhen nodded. Then, she left Suxi Palace. At 12 o'clock this Sunday night, which is midnight on Monday morning, 12 o'clock tomorrow night, Crazy will send a 1000 yuan red envelope on WeChat. To participate in the event, please follow Crazy's WeChat. Steps: open WeChat, click Add Friends, search for the public account Feng Qingyang, click Follow and wait for the red envelope. There is still one chapter in the afternoon. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 194. Lingxian. Shen Xiao gently pushed open the door. In the yard, Princess Lingxian was sitting on the swing, swinging gently. The two people's eyes met at this moment. You heard the noisy things outside, right? 63 lives have already made a big fuss. Shen Xiao walked in front of her and looked at her steadily. I know. I killed them, she nodded, and her red eyes trembled slightly. What did Long Yun threaten you with to make you work for him? Shen Xiao asked. Lingxian lowered her head, her hands grasped the rope of the swing, and the whole swing was shaking. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. If you don't want to say it, forget it. Anyway, the result can't be changed. He did win, Shen Xiao said. After a long silence, she looked at Princess Lingxian and said, from now on, we are not sisters. I don't want to have you as my sister anymore. Sister? Lingxuan's voice was painful, and she was struggling inside. Don't sit on it, okay? Do you think you are still a child? Seeing that she was still half dead, she was really angry. She reached out and pulled her up, then drew out the Holy Dragon Emperor's sword and chopped the swing hanging under the tree into pieces. Lingxian opened her mouth, but couldn't make a sound. She stared at the broken swing in a daze, with blood in her eyes. From now on, we are no longer related. You are not allowed to call me sister anymore. Shenxiao put away the Holy Dragon Emperor sword, gritted his teeth, turned around and walked out. After walking a few steps, she looked back and saw Princess Lingxian squatting on the ground, silently collecting the pieces of the swing. She actually wanted to piece together those broken wooden boards. How could it be possible? She raised her head, as if blood was flowing in her eyes, and her whole eyes were like liquid. Shenxiao still left. She closed the door gently. She actually loved her. During the time when she was growing up, she didn't have those cold brothers in her eyes, only the sister. Maybe she was a little fierce at ordinary times, but she never really hated her. But at this moment, it was like the swing, cut in two. She knew how important the swing was to her, so she felt revengeful. But when she saw this child trying to piece together such broken pieces, seeing her confused, struggling, and heartbroken, she felt very uncomfortable. She didn't look back. She knew that from today on, she would be a brand new person. She was tired of seeing her mother shaking her head and tail in front of that man, like a bitch. She wanted to be herself and control her own life. This storm lasted for several days and ended with the rumor that concubine Su was confined by the Yanlong Emperor. From then on, she could only move around in Suxi Palace and be a prisoner in the palace. Her fate had come to an end. The anger of the people and the army ended. But the impact of this incident on Princess Shenxiao was a devastating blow. Nowadays, when people talk about the princess mother and daughter, they only have contempt in their hearts. Shenxiao can't go out at all. When she goes out, she is often pointed at. It is impossible for her to be as glorious as before. However, she has become indifferent. She knows that only strength is everything for her future. She is no longer favored, but she feels relieved. Zhang Ziyi has been a little nervous in front of Juxian these days. Okay, don't worry, I know about this matter. You are also used as a pawn. After a few days, Juxian finally forgave him. What means did this Prince Longyun use to make Princess Lingxian help him? Zhang Ziyi was a little puzzled. He knew how dull Princess Lingxian was. You can ask her in person, won't you understand? Juxian smiled. No, I won't go. How does it feel to hug her waist? Juxian continued to smile. It can't compare to your touch, Zhang Ziyi said seriously. The two laughed and joked for a while, and Zhang Ziyi said, Sufei, this woman, has such an end, it is really retribution. The dragon soul jade was her idea. I finally got my revenge, but it's a pity that she killed so many people. She is finished, and Shenxiao will have a hard time in the future. The future prince's power is growing, which is not a good thing for you. To be honest, if Shenxiao can succeed in the future, it will actually be more beneficial to you. If the prince becomes the future emperor, it will not be a good thing for you and your family, and it will not even be a good thing for the sacrifice temple. He is really disgusting. Zhang Ziyi didn't think about what she said, but it did make sense. You mean, you want me to help Shenxiao? Help you? She has nothing to do with you. Sure enough, he fell into her routine again and was beaten up again. Huguo Mansion. Zhang Yuning and Dong Yangjing walked back together. I didn't expect a Longshan hunting trip to have such a big impact. Dong Yangjing frowned. To be honest, it was designed by the prince, but outsiders don't know. The changes from Li Rengxiang to Princess Lingxian were all his conspiracies. This person is really disgusting, but time is running out. Zhang Yuning took her arm and felt very sorry for her, because it won't be long before Dong Yangjing will become the crown princess. I would rather die than let such a person touch me. Dong Yangjing's eyes were also full of disgust. Compared with my brother, one is indeed in the sky and the other is in the earth. Yes, Jun Jian never bothers to play any tricks. He is a man who is upright and upright. It's a pity that he still has to suffer in Taiji prison. Dong Yangjing's heart will only be with him. The two held hands and talked as they walked through the bamboo forest and returned to Zhang Yanning's residence. Zhang Yanning was living directly at her place now, and she came back to pick up some things this time. Suddenly, they saw a man standing in the yard. The man stood with his hands behind his back, but both of them knew who he was. "I've met the palace master," the two said quickly. "The person standing here is none other than Xiang Liuzhen." Xiang Liuzhen saw them and smiled slightly. "Master, why are you here?" Zhang Yanning was a little worried. She knew that they would eventually notice Xiang Liuzhen's death. "Xiang Liuzhendao, I want to ask you something." Zhang Yanning was still calm inside, so she asked, "What's the matter? Have you seen any trees these past few days?" "I don't think I saw him," Zhang Yanning said. Dong Yangjing said, "He wanders around all day long, who knows where he is misbehaving." She was not polite to anyone. After all, Xiang Liushu is really annoying. Xiang Liuzhen smiled and said, "This child disappeared somewhere after the National Protection Banquet. There is still no news. I suspect he has disappeared." "How is that possible?" Zhang Yanning and both of them exclaimed at the same time. "How could such a big man go missing in Yanlong ruins? It's been more than 10 days. He couldn't have done something bad and hid it, right?" Dong Yangjing said. "Why does Xiaojing hate Shu'er so much?" Xiang Liuzhen asked. "Xiang Liushu really doesn't please women. He is idle all day long and is not serious, but he is not annoying at all." Dong Yangjing didn't know that Zhang Zizai had killed him. Xiang Liuzhen shook his head and said distressedly, "It's because I didn't discipline him well." He looked at Zhang Yanning again and said, "I heard from the prince that after the banquet to protect the country, Shu'er went to find you. It was after Xiaojing won the first place. I remember that Shu'er left first, in a hurry." Zhang Yanning knew that the prince had told him about Li Rengxiang. "They will always come to your door." Zhang Yanning was stunned and said, "No, I watched the competition and then went back to Sister Don Jiang's place to practice. He hasn't been there." Dong Yangjing also said, "Yes, I came back not long after Xiang Liushu left. Ninger is practicing at my place. We have lived together for several months." I see. Xiang Liuzhen nodded and said, "That's strange." He was silent for a moment and said, "Okay, there's nothing wrong. I'll leave first." After walking 2 steps, he looked back and said with a slight smile, "Wanning, your door is broken, why don't you repair it? If there are valuables inside, you are not afraid of being stolen." Zhang Yanning's heart skipped a beat. She said, "Master, I don't live here anymore. There is nothing important in it. It's my fault that Sister Dongyang practiced swordsmanship here, but she destroyed my door and hasn't compensated me yet." "Oh, that's it." Xiang Liuzhen smiled and left. Dong Yangjing also smiled. It was not until Xiang Liuzhen left that she asked strangely, "When did I break your door? Why didn't I know?" "At 12 o'clock this Sunday night, that is, 0 o'clock in the morning on Monday, 12 o'clock tomorrow night, the madman will send a 1000 yuan red envelope on WeChat ID. If you want to participate in the event, please follow Madman's WeChat account. Steps: open WeChat, click to add friends, search the official account Feng Qingyang, click to follow and wait for the red envelope." Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 195. On this day, several elite disciples of the Protectorate Mansion saw a corpse in Nalan Mountain. The corpse had been buried deeply, but because there was no coffin, the famished wild dogs dug it out after smelling it. When they found it, the flesh and blood had been chewed into pieces, and the stench filled the sky. This person seems to have been dead for a while, but he is a totem martial artist after all. His true energy will gradually dissipate, and his body will begin to rot. However, after being dug out and bitten, it was no longer possible to tell who it was, only that he was very young. These clothes seemed to be those of the missing Xiang Liushu, Several elite disciples were extremely shocked. Did they know that the master of the palace was looking for his son everywhere? They were shocked and hurried back to the protectorate to report. They were too panicked and did not have the consciousness to stop the news from spreading, so before Xiang Liuzhen knew about it, it had almost spread in the protectorate. The news quickly spread to the palace. The morning court was ending. The old prime minister almost lost his balance after hearing the news. Prince Longyun and Xiang Liuqiu rushed to Nalan Mountain. At this time, many people were already gathered around the prime minister's mansion. Most of the members of the Xiangliu family gathered here, looking at the bloody corpse, their eyes red with anger. Lu Zheng, the head of the protectorate palace, stood in front of the corpse. Xiang Liushu, Prince Longyun's eyes turned red when he saw his dead state. This was his best partner. The other princes were competitors, but this one was his brother. Xiang Liuqiu was in tears. He died so miserably at such a young age. Who is it? Who is it? I want to destroy your whole family, he roared in a suppressed voice. Dad, the fatal injury was that the chest was penetrated by a large weapon, and the internal organs were directly damaged. It seems that he was killed in one move. The murderer is very strong, Xiang Liuzhen said in a hoarse voice. Take Shu'er back and let him rest in peace. Xiang Liuqiu suppressed his anger. Investigate me. Investigate me to death. If I don't find the murderer, I will have lived for so many years in vain. Yes, Dad. The closest relative in the generation, the virtue of being acquainted with Liushu was all cultivated by him. Xiang Liushu died so tragically that they didn't want others to see his miserable state, so the body was taken back to the prime minister's mansion first. It is said that when the wife and grandmother saw it, they fainted on the spot, especially the grandmother, who was so angry that her orifices bled and she almost fainted. Shu'er, my Shu'er, who was the one who suffered 1,000 cuts. So cruel. Shu'er, after the old lady woke up, she cried day and night, half of her life had been lost. How did she know that if she hadn't cared for her grandson as an ancestor since she was a child, how could her tree be seeking death? You losers, find the murderer for me. Find it? In the prime minister's palace, only the top officials of the clan were present. Prince Longyun was silent for a long time. He said, as for the murderer, I told the palace master something last time, which may be helpful. What's the matter? Prime Minister Lu Guo still doesn't know about Li Rengxiang. Xiang Liuzhen had no choice but to tell him about Li Rengxiang. Shu'er wanted to use Li Rengxiang to forcefully have sex with Zhang Yanning. After the banquet of protecting the country, he went to find Zhang Yanning. However, Zhang Yanning fell in love with Li Rengxiang and went to Dong Yangjing's place. Dong Yangjing can also testify. Zhang Yanning. Are you a bitch from Daejiang King City? It's her blessing that Shu'er likes her. How dare she resist, the old lady said angrily. Shut up, Xiang Liuqiu scolded angrily. Li Rengxiang, I know this thing. Zhang Yanning has been hit by Li Rengxiang. Can Dong Yangjing solve it for her? Xiang Lu was thinking for a moment, then he frowned and said, there is a doubt. Last time I went to Zhang Yanning's place, I saw that her door was broken. Maybe there was a battle there. Who was with Zhang Yanning at that time? Prime Minister Lu Guo asked with cold eyes. The prince said, Zhang Yanning's younger brother, Zhang Zizai. However, he left after the banquet, and Xiang Liushu started to take action. He didn't want to say that he also used a trick to get Shen Xiao and Zhang Zizai to have a relationship at Nalan Mountain. The corpse is also in Nalan Mountain, it can't be such a coincidence. So he said, Xiang Liushu drank a lot at that time. I mean, if Zhang Zizai left and came back at that time, and saw his sister being possessed by Li Rengxiang, it would be normal for him to have murderous thoughts based on his personality. Although his strength is not as good as that of Xiang Liushu, but the palace master should know how much holy country wine Xiang Liushu drank. Yes, Zhang Zizai's dragon nether sword has the form of a heavy sword. It was displayed at the Six Palaces festival. If the dragon nether sword had penetrated his chest, it would have been an injury like this, Xiang Liuchen had already determined. It's definitely him, Xiang Liuqiu also locked in. Then why are you still standing there? Kill Zhang Zizai, Zhang Yanning, and all his relatives, the old lady said sadly. Bring the man to the house, make him kneel in front of Shu'er, and execute him Ling Qi. Xiang Liuqiu said in a deep voice, don't cause trouble, okay. Zhang Zizai will be your majesty's consort in a month. Your majesty will definitely have great use for him by keeping him. Do you mean he can be killed by killing him? Besides, these are all guesses. Where is the evidence? The bodies were bitten by wild dogs, and he left no evidence of guilt. If you can't kill openly, then assassinate, the old lady was still struggling. Don't worry, revenge must be avenged, otherwise Shu'er will not be able to rest in peace. However, the method must be appropriate. The Prime Minister gritted his teeth. The prince said, what the Prime Minister said does make sense. After all, there is no evidence, and I don't know what the use of my father keeping Zhang Zizai is. He did assassinate someone, but it didn't work. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Now he is thinking that if Zhang Zizai dies, the wedding will become a funeral, and if it affects his marriage to the crown princess, it will not be worthwhile. After all, Emperor Yanlong wants to have a double happiness that day. Keep Zhang Zizai first, and cut Zhang Yuning into pieces first. Throw this bitch to the wild dogs and bite her to death. That's fine, right? The old lady's eyes were bloodshot, like an old devil. No one said anything now. Zhang Zizai was protected by the sacrifice temple, but Zhang Yuning was a dispensable existence. She was not as dazzling as her brothers, and she was also a member of the Huguo mansion. Killing such a woman secretly would not cause much trouble. Okay, let's deal with her today. First, use her blood to sacrifice Shu'er. After a while, use Zhang Zizai's blood to send Shu'er on his way. Xiang Liuchen's words finally satisfied the old lady a little. Immediately, right now, I will peel her skin with my own hands. My Shu'er. Shu'er, the old lady lay on the coffin and cried. Dad, the disappearance of Zhang Yuning is not a big deal, right? Xiang Liuchen asked. Xiang Liuqiu frowned slightly and said, I'm afraid that King Zilan will take revenge. Your Majesty can't wait for him to show up. Besides, he is not supernatural, how can he know that it was us who did it? Xiang Liuqiu looked at his wife who was crying half to death, gritted his teeth, and said, okay, bring her back. Xiang Liuchen nodded and went out directly. Your Highness, please keep these things today confidential, the Prime Minister said. Don't worry, Prime Minister. He is my good friend. His hatred is my hatred. Thank you, Your Highness. It's a pity that Shu'er has passed away. I can't serve Your Highness anymore. What a pity. The prince looked at Xiang Luiying next to him and said, Ying-er, you can also inherit the incense of the Xiang Lu family. Although he said this, Xiang Liuqiu still didn't feel comforted, because in their eyes, women can never be on the stage. The eldest son passed away, and the family was in great pain. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 196. Comfortable. On this day, Zhang Zizai was practicing when suddenly someone hurriedly knocked on the door and pushed the door open before he could speak. Sister, why are you here? Zhang Zizai stood up. Something happened. Zhang Yanning's face turned pale. She had run all the way here, so she was out of breath. What's going on? Seeing how anxious she was, Zhang Zizai knew there was trouble. Sit down first and speak slowly. Calm down. She seemed panicked. Today someone found the body of Xiang Liashu in Nalan Mountain. It has just been spread. It is said that wild dogs dug it out of the ground after smelling the smell of blood and flesh. People from the Prime Minister's mansion have taken the body away, and the prince seems to be with him. She said, trying to calm down. Zhang Zizai was startled. There is such a wild dog in Nalan Mountain? Damn it, I should have burned him if I had known. This is where he didn't do things well, but his luck was too bad. He buried it so deeply that wild dogs could smell it and dig it out. After all, it's really a matter of luck. What I'm worried about is that the prince knows about Li Rengxiang. He also knows that you went to Nalan Mountain, and even knows that Xiang Liashu drank. Together, they deduce that it's easy to guess you. Although there is no evidence, I'm worried they assassinate you. To avenge Xiang Liashu. She was very nervous. What she said was possible. Suddenly, a woman in a white dress stood at the door. She walked in, sat next to Zhang Yanning, and said softly, "What you should worry about is yourself. Zizi is protected by the Temple of Sacrifice. They don't dare to break in here, but you are a disciple of the Protectorate. If they want revenge, you will be the first one they want to kill." Zhang Zizai never thought of such a thing as a wild dog. If he had known this, he would have run a little further and thrown it out of Yanlong ruins. Now that things have happened, they can indeed guess that it was him who did it. For them, if they want to take revenge, the evidence may not be so necessary. Are you going to kill me? Zhang Yanning thought about it carefully, and it was indeed horrifying. She knew that because of Zhang Zizao, it was not easy for him to die because of the Flame Dragon Emperor and the Temple of Sacrifice, but she was an indispensable role to them. Don't worry, Zhu Xian took her hand and said, "You made the smartest move. After getting the news, you immediately came to find your brother. And they took the body back, which required a certain amount of time to guess. If you weren't set off immediately, and you may have been taken to the Prime Minister's residence by now. Is that so?" Zhang Yanning trembled. This world is too dangerous. Fortunately, she was clever and escaped. Zhang Zizai knew more about the dangers involved. He said, "From today on, you don't have to go back to the Protector's mansion. You can stay with me. The priest is here, and nothing will happen. The Temple of Sacrifice is not a place where anyone can break in. Xiaoyu is next door, it's fine if you live with Xiaoyu." He could only arrange it this way. Okay, Zhang Yanning nodded. "Don't worry, I'm here," Juxian said softly. "Sister Juxian, thank you so much," Zhang Yanning said gratefully. "Don't call me sister, I will call you sister from now on," Juxian smiled sweetly. Zhang Yanning was dumbfounded. She glanced at her brother blankly. She didn't expect this guy to be so capable. The three of them discussed the details again, which made Zhang Yanning feel more at ease. The 9 Immortals would arrange the reasons for her to stay here, leaving the National Protectorate with nothing to say. Now that the royal family and the Prime Minister's mansion are in such chaos, there is nothing going on, and Zhang Zizai is too lazy to go out. He continues to stay in this temple to practice hard. Practice the dragon-stealing sword technique during the day, improve your strength and open your mysterious veins at night. He didn't know that because Xianglu was in vain, the Prime Minister's mansion was in trouble again. The old lady lay on the ground crying and rolling on the ground, shouting crazily, "I can't live anymore. I want to go with Shu'er. Shu'er. Your father and your grandfather are both useless. Even a woman, I can't handle it. I don't even dare to go into the temple." She rolled around all night, her body covered with dust, and banging her head on the floor from time to time. A group of maids did not dare to stop her. Mrs. Yang Liuchen was still looking after her, but the two soon cried together and hugged each other. Became a ball. "Shu'er, Shu'er. My grandson, you died so miserably. This woman is definitely the murderer. She's hiding in the temple of sacrifice, but you still don't dare to kill her. You're a bunch of trash, a bunch of trash. If you don't kill me, I'll have someone kill her. Don't go crazy. If I were to go in and assassinate you at the temple of sacrifice, I would be kicked out. The killer you spent all your money on might not be able to get in. Don't you think you are the servant of the Holy Sun? Shengri and Yuan, the three divine servants Xinyao and Xinyao, are unpredictable. If an ant crawls in, they all know it, Xiang Liuqiu said angrily. Fart. Isn't the temple of sacrifice just a school? What's the difference between it and the national protectorate? A divine servant, isn't he just like Zheng the old lady said loudly. Idiot. You are the only one who thinks that the temple of sacrifice is an academy. I will let you know the secret of the temple of sacrifice. Their history is 10 times longer than that of the dynasty. Do you think they are joking when they communicate with the ancient gods in the sky? You let me if I enter the sacrificial temple and kill people, your majesty will think that I am crazy. That's funny, let me watch the 2 people who killed my grandson get away with it. Wait, she will come out of the temple of sacrifice at some point. Wait, my grandson is about to go on the road. He will die with his eyes open. How can he wait? Trash, you are all trash, and you are not worthy to be his grandfather. Noisy and rolling, for days and nights, it never stopped. But this was limited to the Huguo mansion and the Prime Minister's mansion. The Yanlong ruins and the sacrifice temple were still calm. There was only occasional talk that the Prime Minister's grandson Xiang Liushu seemed to have been killed. However, most of the people who heard it laughed. Everyone knew what kind of person Xiang Liushu was. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. It can only be said that you will not live if you do evil. In the peaceful days, Zhang Zizai's wedding date was getting closer and closer. Before Zhang Junjian came out, Zhang Zizai did not want to cause any trouble. He practiced hard all night, and in August, he penetrated the 7th mysterious vein in his body, the thick earth sky dragon mysterious vein, and possessed the 7th kind of true qi, the thick earth sky dragon true qi, whose characteristic is vigorous, which is an increase in all true qi, making Zhang Zizai's true qi more majestic and more powerful. He found out that Princess Shenxiao was still in the same realm, and the two were equal in realm. Lu Dingxing and his friends have made great progress since they got the new totem. In 1 month, they are not far from reaching a new realm. Among them, Ruo Xiaoyu has reached the 2nd level of Xuanmei realm first, close to Zhang Yuning. Seeing these brothers and sisters so terrible, Zhang Yuning certainly admires them. Now living with brothers and sisters is actually happier. Dong Yangjing also comes to see them occasionally. Everyone is like a family, happy and harmonious. During this period, Zhang Zizai has mastered the Zhuolong sword art. The power of the 3 calamities combined is quite brutal. Although he is now in the 7th level of Xuanmei realm, it is estimated that there will be no problem in confronting the Xuanmei realm 9th level. His ability to save his life is now quite strong. On the one hand, the mysterious talisman on his chest has turned green again and has cooled down. Zhang Zizai said with a smile that he can die again. Secondly, Xinjiao Shenqi gave him a top-level talisman, saying that it was given to him by the Yuan Shenqi, and the name was Yuan Talisman, which could make him invisible for a certain period of time if he encountered an assassin, such as the last time. The other party would not be able to find him, and he could save his life once. How could the Temple of Sacrifice not protect geniuses? Lu Dingxing also got a Yuan talisman. With these 2 aspects, Zhang Zizai could be assassinated twice, and it was not a big problem, especially the Yuan talisman. He heard from Juxian that Yuan Shenqi was the strongest totem talisman master in the entire dynasty. Before, he didn't know it. Yuan Shenqi is the top master among talisman masters. In the circle of totem talisman masters, Yuan Shenqi is known as the talisman god. In the future, it would be great if he could get guidance from Yuan Shenqi. As for martial arts, Zhang Zizai had sparred with Dong Yangjing, and Dong Yangjing, who won the first place in the National Protection Banquet, was not his opponent in one move. You are really amazing. You have been practicing for more than a year, and your fighting power is close to your brother Dong Yangjing's side. He is still capable of making such a good woman like sister-in-law like him, Zhang Zizai said. Everyone laughed. Now, he is the only one missing. Otherwise, their small family would be happier now. Zhang Zizai originally regarded Lu Dingxing as a relative, and now he also treats Wang Qian and Bai Shenjin as brothers. Give your heart, meet the right person, live and die together, without regrets. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 197. These days, the Crown Prince Long Yun often went to see Dong Yangjing. He called it cultivating feelings. He actually thought of many ideas to get a chance to spend time alone with Dong Yangjing. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow digit G. However, Dong Yangjing was with her senior and junior sisters in the Huguo mansion every day, and refused on the grounds of cultivation. Even Dong Yangjing directly said, "I know you have the Lorengxiang in your hand, do you want to use it against me?" The purpose was directly revealed. Long Yun originally wanted to make her obedient before getting married, but the plan failed. Dong Yangjing, the time is almost up. Your father has high expectations for you. My father has already granted the marriage. You have to give me some face. The crown prince has been very proud recently. All the powerful people in Yanlongxiu know that Princess Shenxiao was suppressed as soon as she showed up. The biggest backer behind him, concubine Su, was completely ruined. Although concubine Su was confused for a while, even the people can see that the prince has almost no competitors. Dong Yangjing is also from a prominent family. When she really becomes the crown princess, the position of the crown prince will undoubtedly be more stable and there will be no suspense. He doesn't want anything to go wrong at this critical moment. Now that he is in control of everything, he naturally doesn't think that there is anything that can stop him. The only thing that is not so reassuring is that Princess Shenxiao has shifted her attention to cultivation. Although concubine Su ruined herself and Xiao Zhao has a bad reputation now, she chose to endure and focus on cultivation. Once she continues to show talent beyond me in the future, it is very likely that she will be much stronger than me in 10 years, and I will still be in trouble at that time. For father, strength is very important. Father is really partial. The source of evolution of Shenxiao was actually given to her. Thinking of it, he still hated it in his heart. If it was given to him, he could also achieve the wild level totem. Besides, who knows how many years father will be the emperor. He is now over 40 years old. If he wants to be the emperor for another 20 years, I will be 40 when it is my turn. At that time, Xiao Zhao will be the best age. I am afraid that she will be much stronger than me by then. He is not worried about the talents of other princes. The best ones are worse than him. Only Princess Shenxiao makes him wary of her talent. No, I can't let her practice with peace of mind. I must let her fall into despair. It is quite dangerous to let a genius focus on cultivation. When he returned to Changle Palace in the imperial city from the Huguo mansion, he had already made a decision. As soon as he came back, the palace maids reported, "Your Highness, Princess Lingxian is waiting for you." What is she doing here? The prince was in high spirits. When he returned to the hall, he saw a girl sitting quietly in the corner. All retreat, he called the servants away and stood in front of Princess Lingxian. Your goal has been achieved. Can you tell me where they are? Princess Lingxian took out a complete map, which was very detailed and even recorded the geography outside the Yanlong dynasty. I have achieved it, but it can only be said that it is half successful. Concubine Su is seeking death by herself, and it is not your credit, the prince said. Sister can no longer compete with you for the throne, she bit her red lips. Yanur, don't be angry first. Let's do this. Try harder. Now you have done very well. I promise you that I will tell you the address when you get married. His attitude became better and he pretended to be gentle. How should I try? I know that you and Zhang Zizai haven't seen each other since the hunting in Longshan. This won't do. You have to be more proactive. You can go to the temple to find him when you have nothing to do. No matter how you get along with Zhang Zizai, you just need to let others see that you are sweet. Sister won't care. She has already put her mind on cultivation, Lingxian said. Her hand holding the map trembled slightly. She longed so much for him to draw a dot on it so that she would know where her fate and destination were. Don't worry about it now. Just do what I say. You promised me that you would tell me when you get married, for sure, right? Lingxian looked at him hopefully. Don't worry. You have helped me so much. I will never fool you with this little thing. It won't do me any good, the prince said sincerely. Is it enough to just go find him? Yes, go ahead. You can't break your promise. Otherwise, I will entangle with you to the end. Princess Lingxian stood up, her eyes were red, and occasionally a little scary. The prince smiled and said, silly boy, you are my benefactor now, I really don't need to, I have been honest with you. Zhang Zizai didn't know about their conversation. But the next day, he was stunned. Heard someone clamoring outside, saying that the princess was coming. He wondered, Shen Xiao was already so miserable, why would he come to trouble him? It turned out that it was Princess Lingxian who came. She entered Zhang Zizai's room, sat in the corner, took out a book and started reading. What are you doing here? Zhang Zizai asked. It's okay, you don't have to worry about me, just pretend I'm not here, Princess Lingxian said. Zhang Zizai was busy, and since she didn't say a word, he didn't bother to pay attention to her. After all, she was his fiancée, and it was normal for the two of them to be alone in the same room. The priests in the temple gradually got used to it. Anyway, she would go back at night, so it wouldn't affect his and Juxian's wonderful double cultivation. As a result, she came again early the next morning, but she didn't say anything when she came. She just played with herself in the corner. Sometimes she brought a little bear doll with her and could stay there for half a day. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. After that, every day, she came more frequently than the Flame Dragon Emperor's morning court. She came at sunrise and left at sunset. It was so frequent that people wondered what they were doing in there. You are so happy. You have different people to serve you during the day and night. In the end, Juxian was jealous. You saw it? She came here to complete the task. Zhang Zizai knew that Shen Xiao would definitely know that she came so frequently, but she seemed to have grown up now, and she didn't make trouble again. The prince was also paying attention to the progress here. He had spies to listen to people's reactions, but Princess Shen Xiao, who had been very enthusiastic before, seemed to be silent and had not responded. He thought it might not be enough. So the prince said to Princess Lingxian, it's not enough for you to just meet him. You have to ask him out so that people all over the world can see you show your affection and let her see your sweetness. Princess Lingxian shook her head and said, Sister will really not pay attention to Zhang Zizai's affairs anymore. You are doing this in vain. Don't worry about it. Just do what I say. It's best to bring him to the imperial city and let the whole royal family see that you have a good relationship. Princess Lingxian hesitated for a moment. She was not particularly good at it. Yanur, I made such a deal with you for my own selfish desires. It's really hard for you. But you will definitely get what you want. In fact, I can't bear to see you live a meaningless life, the prince comforted. I know. She knew that the prince didn't know Princess Shen Xiao that well. In fact, she just didn't know about the Liran fragrance. The prince thought that Princess Shen Xiao's Liran fragrance had been successful, so he didn't worry at all that Princess Shen Xiao wouldn't care about the growing relationship between Zhang Zizai and her sister. She felt that her sister didn't care anymore, but she forced herself to do these futile things just for that place, but the prince was sure that Princess Shen Xiao would care. So on this day, she still plucked up the courage and asked Zhang Zizai when she left in the evening, "Can you go out with me?" Zhang Zizai was a little surprised that this taciturn guy actually wanted to ask him out. It happened that he had completely mastered the Zhuolong sword technique, so he said, "Let's go, and talk about what you want to do during this period of time." It's time to ask why she forced herself to do things that are not good for Shen Xiao. After leaving the sacrifice temple, she walked and walked without saying a word, but headed towards the direction of the imperial city. "Can you come to my place? Your mother has made a lot of delicious food for me. I will also treat you to a meal. I can cook," she said a little clumsily, pinching the corner of her clothes with her fingers, obviously a little nervous. "Go, go, go." Seeing that she wanted to cook for him so pitifully, how could he refuse? How could he have expected that this simple invitation would lead to a major event that could change his life? Remarks on the release. 2 good news and 1 bad news. Let me first talk about the first good news. At 12 o'clock tonight, this book will be updated with 14 chapters. The second good news is that at the same time at 12 o'clock, the madman will send a 1000 yuan red envelope on WeChat. The bad news is that starting at 12 o'clock in the evening, this book will be charged for being put on the shelves. Maybe for some readers, charging for being put on the shelves is indeed bad news. Here, the madman must explain it. Many old readers know that online writing needs to charge a small fee to support the operation of the website, the salary of the staff, the living fee of the madman, etc. If there is no fee, no one will write online writing, and we authors will not have a platform to write books for everyone to read. Holy Dragon Totem has been updated with 500,000 words. In the past 2 months, the madman has not received any labor remuneration at all. "I am now the pillar of the family, and the whole family depends on me to make money, so I hope everyone can understand the charges for online writing. After all, everyone goes out to buy books and read, which also requires consumption. However, the charges for online writing are really cheap and very kind. It is natural to work hard and get benefits, not to rob or steal." Here I would like to tell new readers about the difference between genuine and pirated. The genuine version is the content published by 17K Novel Network, the only first release and contracted website of Holy Dragon Totem. The difference between genuine websites and pirated websites is that pirated websites do not have many employees who need to eat, do not have to pay authors royalties, and do not have to pay various expenses. They mainly earn GG fees. The legitimate websites need to continue to operate, and if the authors want to make a living while writing books, they can only rely on readers to pay. Of course, the money is not much. The author spends several hours and works hard to write 3,000 words, but only charges a few cents. There is nothing that can be bought for a few cents in China now. It costs about 30 cents to update 10,000 words a day. It can be said that even a few-year-old child doesn't need this 30 cents. But for any author, writing a book is not an easy thing. There are no holidays, huge work pressure, unreasonable insults from some garbage readers, chaotic work and rest, lack of sleep, etc. I want to say a word to every programmer who sticks to the computer. It is not easy for everyone. They use their youth and blood to sway in this online world, and suffer the cold eyes of reality. Everyone knows how much blood and tears are involved. If everyone loves online literature, they should not be stingy with these few cents. Piracy is still rampant in China now. The readers are the most in the dark and easily deceived. There are always people who think that reading a book is a gift to the author. In fact, it is not. You even give the most basic clicks to pirated websites. Unless you introduce the novel to others everywhere, reading pirated books will really have no practical effect on the author. For the listing, I want to say that if it is not financial difficulties and you can't come up with a few dollars a month, I would like to ask all brothers and sisters to support it. It is not easy for everyone, and I can understand it. Now it is so easy to consume online. I hope everyone can give real support to the books they like. After all, many people now watch live broadcasts and give gifts. It is easier for the anchors to give gifts than for us to rack our brains in front of the computer and waste our youth. The recharge method is very simple, but you need to register an account first. You can use the computer or mobile phone page. If you want to read books most conveniently, I suggest you download a client app of 17K Novel. After logging in, you can pay with WeChat and Alipay. Recharge 5 yuan and you can read for a month. It's only about 30 cents a day. I have some hope for the future. I hope that we online writers can get enough respect. I hope that one day, charging for listing will be a normal process in everyone's mind, not bad news. I hope that by then, I will still persist, pursue my dreams, do the career I like, and focus on writing good books. Thank you for your support. I am not young anymore. I will write this book well. Remember, at 12 o'clock tonight, Chapter 14 will be updated. There is also a 1000 yuan red envelope. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 198. So, under the gaze of many people, he entered the imperial city, and then came to a small corner of the imperial city, Lingianzai. You are really quiet here, there is no ghost. After Zhang Zizai came in, she found that the silence here was a little scary. Now the night had fallen. At night, she lit a few lanterns, and she couldn't even see people clearly. You wait here, I'm going to the kitchen, she said with her head down, and immediately turned around and ran away. Zhang Zizai continued to look around. This was a yard with some simple flowers and plants. There was a small pavilion on the left with a table and chairs on it. There was a big tree on the right, and a swing was hung on the branch. The material of the swing was very simple, just a rope and a wooden board. Damn, it's broken like this, what did you use to stick it together? He took a look at the wooden board of the swing, which was simply horrible. However, she glued it very carefully and forced all the fragments together. There was a small house at the back of the yard, and she was busy inside. Zhang Zizai stood by the window and looked at her. She was wearing a small apron around her belly, and was cooking very attentively. She didn't say a word during the whole process, as if she was enjoying it. It seemed that she often fed herself. In such a quiet place, there was only one lonely person. After 10 years, it was no wonder that her personality was like this. However, this was her way, and Zhang Zizai had no right to say anything. Watching her busying around, cutting vegetables, stewing, frying, and arranging dishes, her movements were really skilled. After a few more glances, she found that she seemed quite cute when she stared at the food so seriously. Wait for me outside, it will be ready soon. She saw Zhang Zizai at the window and felt a little embarrassed. Zhang Zizai returned to the yard, swung to the swing, sat on it, and found that it was not broken. What the hell is this thing? It's so tight. This girl is so idle. One moment she's cooking, the next moment she's on the swing, and then she's in a daze at the temple. She's busy getting stronger every day. It's really annoying to compare with others. Come down. She came out of the kitchen and saw Zhang Zizai's big body swinging on the swing. She was so scared that she almost dropped the plate in her hand. If you don't want to sit, then don't sit. You're so stingy. When Zhang Zizai jumped down, the swing was still flying in the air for a few circles. He was a naughty kid when he was young, and his playing style was different from that of a little girl like her. Let's eat in this pavilion. She brought out all the prepared things and put them on the stone table. They were really delicious, and some of them were spiritual medicine materials, which smelled even better. It smells good. There's nothing to eat in the temple. I'm not polite. Zhang Zizai picked up the chopsticks and ate heartily. He's not particular at all. You eat too fast, leave some for me, she was anxious. Seeing Zhang Zizai's speed, she couldn't eat anything at all if she chewed slowly. You invited me to dinner, but you don't let me eat to my heart's content, Zhang Zizai glared. You should drink some wine, leave some meat for me. She quickly took out a pot of wine, which smelled quite fragrant. You're still eating meat, and you've gained weight, Zhang Zizai said, subconsciously looking at her chest. Maybe it's because she eats too much, and her development is really good. I'm not afraid. If you can't taste delicious food, life will be even more meaningless. She may have noticed Zhang Zizai's gaze, lowered her head, and spoke softly. Okay, seeing how anxious you are, I'll give it all to you. He picked up the wine pot, poured himself a large bowl, and then stared at her. Lingxian, can you tell me what conditions the prince gave you to help him? She paused for a moment, then put down her chopsticks. Okay, eat, and we'll talk after you finish eating. Zhang Zizai was too lazy to care about her. He was as fragile as a little rabbit and couldn't say a word. He picked up the wine and drank it all. Lingxian lowered her head and ate slowly. She had a good appetite. She said she invited Zhang Zizai to dinner, but she ate most of the 7 or 8 dishes. Your Highness may be worried that my sister will surpass him in martial arts in the future, so he is still unwilling to let me continue to anger her, Lingxian said worriedly. Then why do you want to help him? Zhang Zizai stared at her. She bit her lip and shook her head. She couldn't say it. She was afraid that if she said it, the prince would not tell her. Zhang Zizai really couldn't do anything with her, and he didn't want to force her, so as not to cry if he asked a few more questions. He was about to stand up and leave, but suddenly his head felt a little hot. I feel a little hot, what's going on? Lingxian was a little confused. She was sweating a lot and couldn't help but want to tear the clothes on her chest. Zhang Zizai also felt the same way. He smelled her carefully, and the fragrance on her body was too strong. It was the smell of Li Renxiang. There's something wrong with your wine. Zhang Zizai frowned and looked at her. How is it possible? Although it has been stored for a long time, it won't go bad. Her face was burning hot and all red. If this continues, she will have a fierce fight with Princess Lingxian. Fortunately, Zhang Zizai has prepared a lot of soul-soothing talismans during this period. This is a good medicine to fight against Li Renxiang. He directly took action and put one on each person. It hurt so much she covered her head. This kind of tingling pain would make people forget the feeling of the body. Zhang Zizai was also stinging, but he calmed down. Thinking of a person, he smiled and said, His Royal Highness is really arrogant. He used Lorengxiang to deal with me and Shen Xiao, and now he wants to use Lorengxiang again. Let us have a relationship. He gave all your sisters to me. Is there such a brother in the world? This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Li Renxiang? What is it? Her face was full of doubts. We were drugged with Lorengxiang, maybe in wine. In short, it's an ecstasy drug that can make us husband and wife. The effect is terrible, Zhang Zizai said lightly. What? Lingxian was shocked. She was too naive and didn't know there was such a thing in the world. But the feeling that made her whole body restless just now and wanted to throw herself into Zhang Zizai's arms was definitely real. Your Highness, have you used this Li Renxiang to deal with you? So, you have. Is that why my sister is so angry? She finally understood. Don't think blindly. I have this soul-suppressing talisman, and I suppressed it at the time. However, the prince seems not to know that Shen Xiao and I are innocent. So, he wanted to add fuel to the fire and give you to me, 2. In this way, you will have to compete with Shen Xiao to the end even if it is for yourself, and he will not have to threaten you anymore. He is so rampant. Zhang Zizai's face was full of contempt. Last time, I used a little trick to bring down concubine Su, so he was very proud of himself. Zhang Zizai's eyes were full of disgust. It was really unbelievable for a brother to treat his two sisters like this. In his opinion, Shen Xiao and Lingxian were married to Zhang Zizai one after another. From now on, he really didn't have to do anything. These two princesses would be entangled with Zhang Zizai and might even cause trouble. Whatever happens, it has nothing to do with him anyway, he can just sit back and watch the fight between tigers and tigers. In this way, he doesn't have to rush Lingxian every time. It's impossible, how could he do this? I didn't offend him. Lingxian was a little panicked. That kind of panic could suppress Li Rengxiang's explosion, but she knew her physical condition very well. She had been hit by Li Rengxiang. This was absolutely true. She remembered that it was the prince who wanted to bring Zhang Zizai back. Is this his real purpose? Let me ask you, he has harmed you so much, and you still haven't told me what conditions he threatened you with. Zhang Zizai wanted to help Princess Lingxian because she felt sorry for her. She was visibly flustered. No one stood by her side. Zhang Zizai became the only person she could rely on. She was a little angry and a little uncomfortable. She said blankly, he said, my parents are not dead. He said he knows where they are. As long as I obey, he will tell me. Zhang Zizai was really angry. He knew how Lingxian grew up and how important her parents were to her. To control such a poor person with such lies is so despicable and despicable. Do you believe what he said? Zhang Zizai asked. They must be alive. I dreamed about them. They are waiting for me. Lingxuan's face was filled with sadness. Perhaps, she realized just then that all of this might really be a lie. Based on what I know about him, you lied to me. Zhang Zizai felt that saying this might be a bit callous to her. However, she couldn't believe it anymore, otherwise she would be more manipulative. If it weren't for the soul calming talisman today, Zhang Zizai would have been sorry for her. No, no. Her eyes were blank, and she ran to the swing. She sat on it and swayed, and said to Zhang Zizai with tears in her eyes, they must still be alive. I have dreamed about them many times. Last night, I saw them. I miss them so much, I'm going to find them. She seemed to be a little broken. I'm going to find him and ask him clearly. She suddenly made up her mind, her eyes blood red. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 199. To be honest, Princess Lingxian was not stupid, it was just a trap set by the prince. It was her obsession and desire for more than 10 years. She did not dare to doubt it because she was afraid of losing this opportunity. She had even doubted it, but she would pursue it even for the slightest possibility. The obsession is too deep. A child who grew up alone, she just wanted to find her parents. Even if everyone said that they had gone to another world, she longed for them and imagined that they were still alive. Zhang Zizai only knew that it was so despicable and shameless for the prince to use her in such a way. She is really an idiot, that is more important to her than her own life and death. Now, after Zhang Zizai made it very clear to her, her state was completely wrong. Her eyes showed surging blood, and even the blood-red dragon pattern on her forehead was flashing with bloodthirsty light. It was hard to imagine how angry she was at this moment. She once told the prince, if you use this matter to deceive me, I will fight you until death. Calm down first, Zhang Zizai said softly. He couldn't bear to see her suffering and struggling like this. I don't want it, I'm going to find him, I didn't expect her to be so determined at this time, remembering that she was so well behaved before. Sure enough, there are restricted areas in some people's minds that must not be violated. She really wanted to go out and go to the East Palace. Zhang Zizai hurriedly followed, but he knew that there would never be any good results if she went like this. As soon as I walked out of the door, because Lingyanzai was really remote, there was a green forest outside, and this was a small corner of the palace. There was a feeling of surging blood in her body. Unexpectedly, as soon as she went out, she suddenly stopped, looked to the dark direction on the left, and said, "I see you are here, come out quickly." Zhang Zizai was shocked. Who did she see? Why don't you know? Don't go. As soon as she finished speaking, she actually chased in that direction, and Zhang Zizai quickly followed. Sure enough, a figure jumped down from the tree. Someone has been monitoring us, only then did Zhang Zizai know. He didn't expect that Princess Lingxuan's reaction and insight were stronger than his own. She was probably at the 5th level of the mysterious vein realm. I gave them the incense of Li Ren and then kept a watch on them. This person was definitely from Prince Longyun. Stop, Your Highness. Lingxuan's words were very domineering. She rarely spoke in such an angry voice. Her once soft voice had now become hoarse. Zhang Zizai realized that her body had undergone huge changes at this moment. It was unclear what the change was, but it should have something to do with her red blood spiritual dragon totem. And you discovered it. The man was about to leave, but when he heard Lingxuan's words, he stopped and turned around, and it turned out to be the prince himself. Zhang Zizai also followed and stood next to Princess Lingxian. He sneered, "I didn't expect that the prince would have such a hobby of peeping. It's just that I'm disappointed this time." Li Rengxiang didn't take effect. He knew how many arrangements this guy had made in order to bring down Shen Xiao. On the one hand, he allowed himself to have a relationship with Shen Xiao, and on the other hand, he deceived Lingxian. Both ways, he finally destroyed concubine Su. However, he seemed not to be satisfied yet, and wanted to push Lingxian completely into this whirlpool. "Why did you do this to me?" "I did everything you said." Princess Lingxian stood in the darkness, staring at the prince. "The plan has failed, and it is impossible to use Princess Lingxian from now on." He didn't bother to pretend anymore and said directly, "Who do you think you are? How I want to play with you is not a casual matter. Do you really think you are my sister? An orphan that no one wants, haha." Zhang Zizai saw that she had clenched her fists, and her whole body was trembling slightly. The terrifying murderous aura and smell of blood actually came from her body. How could she, a weak and usually soft woman, be so fierce at this time? Feeling. "So, you said that my parents are still alive, are these all false?" She said this with a trembling voice. This was so important to her that every word she spoke contained endless courage. The prince laughed dumbly and said, "Since you have no use value, it doesn't matter if I tell you. Listen carefully. Who knows where your short-lived parents died? Does anyone care? No one cares except you. Ah. To be honest, I have never seen anyone stupider than you, and you believe this." These words struck her like thunder. The prince was also in a bad mood because of the failure of his plan. When he met Princess Lingxian again, he dared to speak in such a tone. He never took her seriously and continued to coax her during this period. Therefore, at this time, what he said were all his true thoughts. "Zhang Zizai, it's not easy to hear. You can crack Li Rengxiang. No wonder you still had time to kill Xiang Liashu that day. Such a beauty as Shen Xiao is placed in front of you. Since you can still bear it, you are really a disgrace to men." "Ah." The prince turned his eyes to Zhang Zizai and sneered. Zhang Zizai didn't say anything. He didn't know whether the other party was wearing an image charm, and he didn't want to admit it himself. Now that the prince's plan has failed, at least he will not torment Princess Lingxian in the future. It will also be a good thing for Lingxian to get her out of this whirlpool. Zhang Zizai is ready to advise her to go back and rest. Bitch, you will have your own destiny. What he never expected was that when he looked at Princess Lingxian, he found that her body had undergone a huge change. This chapter is not yet finished, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. What is this? In a very short time, her palms, neck, and entire head were all changing, and they were actually covered with blood-red scales. This means that under the clothes, the whole body should be covered with blood-red scales. The long black hair was hidden, and the head turned into a real dragon head. This is a combination of dragon and human, a dragon man. There is even a slender tail covered with barbs. Covered with blood-colored dragon scales, sharp dragon horns on the head, and sword-like claws on both hands and feet, she has actually changed from a weak woman to a fighting machine. It should be a killing machine. Maybe this is her totem characteristic. However, for some reason, judging from this bloody and terrifying feeling, it has exceeded the power of the totem, and it looks even more terrifying than Lu Dingxing's god and demon transformation. From a weak woman to a violent killing machine, the contrast in the middle is really too great. What is even more unimaginable is that she is clearly at the 5th level of the mysterious vein realm, but in this state, the breath that bursts out is simply terrifying, and it is a breath that even Zhang Zizai is afraid of. Especially those eyes, which are completely covered with blood, full of hatred and killing, full of indifference and ruthlessness. This is completely another side of her. Judging from the shocked face of the prince, she may have never shown such a state. What the hell are you want to do something to me? The prince laughed dumbly. A person who is 6 years younger than him, she is going to do something to him, but he has already reached the saint body realm. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 200. After reaching the 9th level of the mysterious vein realm, the outline of the totem in the body forms a perfect martial arts totem. To reach the holy body realm at this time, the intact martial arts totem in the body needs to be broken into pieces. The fragments of the martial arts totem and the true energy are imprinted into the muscles and bones of the body. Flesh and blood, skin, hair, internal organs, etc., forming the totem holy body. The totem holy body is not the same concept as the Shenxiao holy body of Princess Shenxiao, but refers to the perfect fusion of the martial arts totem and the physical body. This allows the power of the totem to be fully displayed in battle. In this realm, the holy body is forged with exercises, and the true energy gathers throughout the body, growing together with the holy body and integrating into one body. When the body is strong, the energy is sufficient. Once you reach this state, you can fly into the sky and escape from the earth, and you are known as the martial arts master. If Zhang Zizai maintains his current totem and reaches the holy body realm, he will achieve the Tai Chi Black Dragon holy body. At that time, the true energy will not disappear, but will no longer be limited to the mysterious veins and spiritual orifices, but will be integrated into the body. Every part of the body makes the body unprecedentedly powerful, and a finger or even a hair can explode with terrifying power. From the mysterious vein realm to the holy body realm, it can be said that it is neither broken nor established, but broken and then established. The prince and Zhang Junjian have both reached such a holy body state. It is said that in history, there used to be totem martial artists who first cultivated the physical body and then forged the true energy. This was later overturned. That was not the best way. Now is the peak cultivation state. First, the true energy and profound veins are nurtured, and then broken and then established. Only with the perfect fusion of physical body and true energy can the totem holy body appear. Although Princess Lingxuan's changes at this time were huge, the gap between her and the holy body realm was too big. She seemed to want to fight the prince today, but Zhang Zizai felt that it was meaningless. The prince even sneered. If she dared to do something to herself, it would be a life-threatening situation. You still have this method, you really hide it well enough, but after all, you are still too young. If you dare to attack me, your life will be miserable next." There was only contempt in his eyes. In the holy body realm, based on the physical body, with one punch and one palm, the earth will shake. He really didn't expect that under his words, Princess Lingxian would suddenly move. Without saying a word, she turned into a blood shadow and shot away instantly. So fast, even Zhang Zizai was surprised. Ding ding ding. In the blink of an eye, she was like a crazy demon, attacking with all her claws and tail. Those sharp claws and tail were weapons in themselves. A streak of blood transformed violently in the woods. Zhang Zizai saw the look in her eyes. It was a look of raging anger, a look of violent killing, and even a look where she couldn't control herself and turned into a killing machine. Presumptuous, the prince blocked it a few times and was extremely shocked. How could a person at the 5th level of the mysterious veins realm pose a threat to him? However, the other party's look really made him have some evasive thoughts. Sheng Xiao's talent is enough, but now Princess Lingxian suddenly becomes like this. Are women in this world really crazy? He now possesses the 9 heavenly flame dragon holy body. The majestic true energy makes his flesh and blood become extremely strong and as hard as steel. Such a totem holy body has 9 layers of defense and is powerful enough in itself. But he didn't expect that her claws would almost tear his defense to pieces. Roll. He was furious and used the 10,000-foot dragon fist to fight back Princess Lingxian. But he never expected that his 10,000-foot dragon fist would only shatter her, but not injure her, because her dragon scales were so thick that if he punched her, not only would there be no wound, but his own fist would also be very painful. "Damn it, what kind of monster are you?" he was angry. What responded to him was the blood-red dragon man's desperate attack. A blood shadow shuttled crazily through the woods. Even if the prince was protected by the totem body, he would be in great danger. I don't know when, but a dagger appeared in Princess Lingxian's hand. It was the weeping blood blade, which was the dowry given to her by the prince. When someone gets married, he gives a murderous sword as a gift. That kind of insidious thought is disgusting. At this time, Lingxian used it to deal with him. That's too presumptuous. You monster, no wonder you are still alive today. There is a difference in their identities, but Princess Lingxian is crazy and has no emotions at all. He also became serious. In fact, he was still very strong. He punched and palmed, opened and closed, and his totem holy body was majestic. Even if Lingxian suddenly became so violent, he was not hurt. In fact, he has gradually suppressed Lingxian. You dare to attack me, I will kill you, and no one will care. After all, who in this world cares about the life and death of a monster like you? The prince was really annoyed by the other party's unrelenting attitude, and he started to attack harshly. Damn, he really wants to at least cripple Princess Lingxian. Zhang Zizai couldn't stand it anymore. How could there be such a bitch in this world? No wonder Juxian said that if he became emperor in the future, it would not be a good thing for Zhang Zizai and the Kailan royal family. With such a shameless character, who knows what he will cause trouble. You two, stop fighting, this is the palace. Zhang Zizai drew out the long yew sword. He said this, but after he rushed up with a lightning storm, the direction the long yew sword was pointing was none other than the prince. Your Highness, stop fighting. Zhang Zizai is already at the 7th level of the mysterious vein realm, and he hasn't encountered such a powerful opponent as the crown prince in a long time. When this guy reaches the holy body realm, he is probably almost the same as Zhang Junjian. Zhang Zizai is also very curious, how strong is this kind of existence? Just experience it for yourself. Perhaps in the eyes of the prince, his strength was still at the level of a grand event in the 6 prefectures. He didn't know that Zhang Zizai was 3 levels stronger than he was then, and he also had the dragon robbery sword technique. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. and the power of the lightning storm was also stronger than it was then. Zhang Zizai, you are very brave. When Zhang Zizai joined the battle, a 2-on-1 situation instantly formed. However, the prince only thought that he was here to make trouble. What shocked him today was the princess's strength. As for Zhang Zizai, he didn't take him seriously. Your Highness, you'd better stop it. It's too difficult for me to stop the fight alone, Zhang Zizai said aggrievedly. Although he said so, he was quite fierce when he attacked. How can you be so strong? In a head-on confrontation, Zhang Zizai's continuous burst of the Baidu sword technique forced him to resist with all his strength, causing Princess Lingxuan's tail full of barbs to hit him directly. With a snap, the prince hit the tree and was dizzy. Prince, you misunderstood. I am weak. I just want you to stop fighting. Before Zhang Zizai finished speaking, Princess Lingxian on the left had already rushed up. The tail swung like a long whip to kill the prince. The prince quickly dodged and the tree behind him was directly cut off. Her terrifying killing power at this time, like a wild beast that had lost its mind, made Zhang Zizai dumbfounded. He originally thought she was a good girl, but now she was simply a violent maniac. Those sharp dragon thorns made his scalp numb. Zhang Zizai, what realm have you reached? The prince was still in shock from being attacked by Zhang Zizai just now. It doesn't matter what realm I am in. The important thing is that you should stop fighting. Zhang Zizai rushed up, and the lonja sword in his hand turned directly into a heavy sword, and chopped at the prince's head. How dare you? If you dare to attack me, I will kill you and you will have nothing to say. The prince was furious. He was extremely shocked. He was in the Saint Body realm. He was several realms beyond these two people. Why did he let them besiege him? And he was actually a little embarrassed. Prince, please don't misunderstand. I am trying to stop the fight. Zhang Zizai said seriously, continuing to attack violently, cooperating with Lingxian perfectly. He was also a young man. Anyway, he didn't dare to tell others that he had defeated the prince. It was a rare opportunity to abuse him. How could he let it go? Zhang Zizai couldn't bear not to chop such a despicable person. And he didn't know how long Lingxian could hold on in this state. At least let her vent today. That's what he thought. The two of them directly suppressed the prince into a corner.